unable to take down what has been put up, unwilling to settle for something similar, and still wondering if there might be something better. This is one of the main reasons why the phenomenon of leftover women in China's major cities is becoming increasingly serious. In recent years, alongside the sharp decline in China's birth rate, the issue of leftover men and women has increasingly become a focal topic of concern for the whole society. People are surprised to find that although overall there are still more than 30 million more men than women in China, in first and second tier cities, high-quality, marriageable men are scarce and competed for. However, the number of older, unmarried leftover women is increasing. Data from major dating websites indicate that the single rate for women in the 4 major first-tier cities of Beijing, Shanghai, Guangzhou, and Shenzhen exceeds 61%. On one hand, rural women have no trouble getting married, with bride prices rising, while on the other hand, urban women are unable to marry despite lowering their standards, remain unmarried. The question arises, how do these two completely different phenomena coexist in Chinese society? The reasons are very complex, but a very important factor is that capital, in order to make profits, has blindly overpraised urban women, significantly raising their expectations for a partner. Firstly, it must be acknowledged that young women who can survive in big cities generally have relatively strong abilities. They typically have a relatively stable job, and although the pay may not be high, it is sufficient for self-sufficiency. They generally encounter many high-quality men who are tall, handsome, and have cars and houses. In their eyes, high-quality men are no longer an unattainable fantasy, but rather ordinary people within reach. They are generally full of longing for their future spouse, and the nagging from parents to get married and the pressure of blind dates seem completely unreasonable to them. If things were to stop developing at this point, there wouldn't be any major issues. It's perfectly natural for a high-quality woman to want to find a high-quality husband, no matter how you look at it. Even with the immense population pressure in China, it should never come at the cost of women's marital happiness. However, the sudden intervention of capital has changed everything. From 2015 onwards, women born in the 1990s began entering the marriage and dating market on a large scale. The way young men and women in China approach love and marriage has since entered a brand new era. Women born in the 1990s are particularly unique as a group. Their upbringing is completely different from that of previous generations. Their parents were the biggest beneficiaries of the reform and opening up policy, raising them like little princesses, afraid to let them slip from their hands or melt in their mouths. They experienced the largest expansion of higher education enrollment in China's history. Most of them were able to pursue further studies in higher education institutions in first and second tier cities. They witnessed the largest high-speed rail construction in China's history, no longer confined to their small county towns like their parents, but free to travel across the 9.6 million square kilometers of their homeland. They also experienced the most aggressive information explosion in China's history, with the internet and mobile internet evolving rapidly. Unlike their parents who relied on newspapers for news, they could receive the latest global information at lightning speed. This group of women, who come from well-off families, have broad horizons and a strong desire to consume but lack extensive social experience, naturally became the most attractive target for capital to boost sales. A few years ago, the CEO of Meituan, Wang Xing, openly stated the thoughts of capital. In the eyes of capital, in terms of spending power, young women rank above children, above young married women, above the elderly, above dogs, and above men. The logic of capital is very simple. Since they cannot easily persuade men to spend money, then they would focus on the women around men. As long as they elevate women's self-awareness, satisfy women's personal needs, and cater to women's emotional value, men will have to spend money. Thus, we saw the emergence of White Day, 520 Day, Singles Day Shopping Festival, and Chishi Festival. Phrases like "I am responsible for being beautiful," "You are responsible for earning money" appeared, as well as stories of a domineering CEO falling in love with me. After over a decade of consumerism bombardment, women in big cities have broadened their horizons and increased their energy. Their self-worth has increased and their sense of independence has strengthened. A phrase they often say is, "If I can't find a suitable partner, I'd rather not marry than settle for less." Thus, the phenomenon of leftover women emerged. Of course, it's not right to place all the blame for the leftover women phenomenon on women themselves. They also feel quite aggrieved, thinking, "I've already broadened my criteria so much, yet I still can't find the right one. So what can I do?" The problem lies with these criteria. The so-called relaxed criteria they mention are actually a ceiling that many young men find hard to reach. To give a simple example, in first and second tier cities, the most basic requirement women have for a partner is a monthly salary of over 10,000 yuan. From the women's perspective, this is already the lowest standard they can accept. Anything less and they simply can't survive. However, according to data from Red Star Capital Bureau, among young people aged 20 to 30 in China's first and second-tier cities, over 70% earn less than 10,000 yuan per month, less than 2% earn over 15,000 yuan, and only about 1% earn over 50,000 yuan. In other words, the lowest possible monthly salary of over 10,000 yuan that women mention already excludes 70% of eligible men. The better condition of a monthly salary of 50,000 yuan is already an extremely high-quality man, 1 in 100. To put it bluntly, a city man earning 50,000 yuan, 1 in 100, will also have a partner selection standard among the top 1% of women. A city man earning over 10,000 yuan, 1 in 50, will have a partner selection standard among the top 20% of women. With all these exclusions, women who are not particularly outstanding themselves neither secure high-quality marriage prospects nor are willing to lower their standards, and are unwilling to return to smaller cities, compromising their lives and wasting their years, becoming leftover women, which seems inevitable. Of course, everyone's life is a path of their own choosing, and as long as it doesn't harm others, there's no right or wrong. Pursuing a better life is everyone's right, and no one has the right to criticize. This video does not intend to criticize those leftover women. Essentially, they are also victims of capitalist brainwashing. In pursuit of their own economic interests, capitalists exploit the historical wave of social progress and educational development, using false advertising and blind flattery to deliberately weave an illusory dream life for many women. The domineering CEO falling in love with me in idol dramas, or the Cinderella turning into a swan in fairy tales, might indeed happen in real life, but the probability is extremely low. We can't expect all the luck of winning the lottery to fall on us. The vast majority of men and women, after entering the halls of marriage, must still face the daily necessities of life like rice, oil, salt, soy sauce, vinegar, and tea, as well as family matters, marital arguments, and sharing joys and hardships together. If we don't clearly understand this, our life journey will inevitably be filled with many unnecessary troubles. Supporting each other through thick and thin and growing old together is forever the most romantic virtue of our nation. May all lovers in the world become united in marriage. May everyone no longer be deceived by capital.